All right, we are back and we have a very special guest with us today. He is universally considered one of the most impactful surfers of his generation. His seemingly effortless style and approach being applied to all manner of craft and really all manner of waves. He hails from the fabled shores of Cape Town in South Africa, where he was a celebrated junior surfer before emerging onto the world stage in 2018 and competing on the Elite Championship Tour. Although the results didn't pan out for him there, he hasn't slowed down one iota on improving his abilities and wowing audiences around the world. His films, Sonic Souvenirs, Changing Tempo, Can't Steal Our Vibe, and The New Wave, among many others, artistically blend music, local culture, surfing, and storytelling in a way that highlights not only his own surfing, but the waves and the vibrant local communities that he visits. And he has a new film called Spearfish, which he's been touring the US for, as well as representing Vans, Channel Islands, and Rain Eyewear. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only Mikey February on the lineup. Mikey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man.
No, thank you. Thanks for the kind words. It was, yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, stoked to catch up and yeah, appreciate it.
We were talking a little bit before we were recording, but obviously you've been in the U.S. for a little bit. You've been touring for Spearfish, but where are you talking to us from today, and what have you been getting up to today?
I'm in Topanga right now, at Dimmer's place. But yeah, I've it's been a busy last couple months, really good last couple months. We honestly since like maybe end of June, we kind of started filming. Well, we had filmed previously already, but we've been filming for the Spearfish film, and like yeah, since like end of June, I've kind of been on the road, and then yeah, later the family joined me, and it's been a couple months of like Mexico, California, Indonesia, Maldives, and now here.
Right.
Um, you know, the film got put together, and we've been touring for the last couple weeks. It's been rad. I mean, I just got back from San Fran, I think at like 1 o'clock this morning. We had a rad day out there yesterday. We had some fun waves, and we got to yeah, it was cool. Like that was the first stop of our West Coast side of things. Before that, we did the East Coast, and it was rad. Got to go to a bunch of places that I'd never been to before. I never thought I'd get the chance to go to, which was cool. I mean, I know they got a lot going on now with like the hurricane and stuff, but
Yeah, of course.
we timed it pretty well, and it was rad to see. I don't know, like just the surf communities there, and everyone kind of show up and support. Like I don't know, every time we'd get to a different place, you'd kind of get there and you'd be like, oh, you'd meet a couple of people, maybe have a surf, and you'd see some people where you're like, "Ah," you're like, I don't know if anyone's gonna show up later. Like
Right.
hopefully people come out. But as soon as the evening came, like you'd go to like either a local surf store or brewery or whatever, and it was just like I don't know, the whole community kind of showed the support and came out, and it was a rad way to meet everyone and get a feel for the whole like yeah, just the whole East Coast and stuff. But it's been fun. Yeah, it's been really busy, but yeah, I got got another little one on the way, so I get to just the last little stretch and then get to go home and just kind of post up for the next, you know, couple of months. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, congratulations to you and the family. Super dad. Well,
Thank you.
over the last 5 years, you've established yourself as one of the most sought after free surfers on the planet and well earned. When you come up, when a project like Spearfish comes on your radar, how does that come together? Because obviously, this one includes not only filming and not only touring, but also a board model as well. How did this particular project come together for you?
Yeah, so the last board model that I worked on was the first one that I've ever worked on, and that was the twin pin, which was really fun. And it kind of happened really organically, I guess. Originally, that one was like, kind of halfway through being on tour that 1 year. I was like, I want to start writing some different boards a little bit more, and I wanted something that would really go good in the point breaks at home. And I guess, we worked on that for a long time, and that's how that came about. And then this one was, yeah, I think I just twin fins in general have like evolved so much in the last few years, even since then. And I think obviously, CI were like ready to, create new model together, I guess, and just trying to think of like there's just so much out there and it's kind of overwhelming at times because you're like, how do I make something that's different? Or like how do I make something that people aren't gonna be like, are you copying this person? Or you
Right. Yeah.
know. But I guess there's so much that goes into surfboards that, obviously a lot of them are gonna look the same, but they go completely differently. But yeah, and then yeah, I tried a few different things. Just like, I kind of always do it with CI. Like I always order like standard bunch of boards and then two, like one or two will be kind of something new, and then we'll just see if it, kind of see if it sticks or not. And kind of tried a few things, and then next thing, yeah, I guess was kind of struggling, just trying to figure out what to do. And then I spent some time at the CI factory, and there was one board that was just kind of lying in the office and kind of caught my eye. And that was like a hand shape or something that had been made for like I think it was Tanagadascus or something. And I just asked the boys if I could ride it, and had a really fun surf like somewhere Rincon or Emmawood or something, and I was kind of like, you know what, this is it was a basic fish, I guess. And it was kind of made me think like maybe I should just try and go down this path and see what we could do if we make some minor tweaks. And yeah, we worked on it for like about a year and a half, and it was nice because I feel like it just kind of came to us in a way. It wasn't like forced or trying to do something different, and in a way just also like kind of going back to basics and going back to like you know the origins of like the twin fin, and I guess that's like a just a good traditional fish. um and we just made some minor tweaks, added a bit of nose rocker, changed the bottom a bit, and it just opened up. I guess it had all the benefits of like a fish but then and more, so
Mm.
and that was the goal, and that felt really yeah, that was really fun to do, and that whole process was rad. And the board, I guess, just got more and more into it, and yeah, it was cool. Just like in a world of many different twin fins and board designs going on, it was kind of for me personally, it was just nice to kind of go back um to kind of something more traditional, and then be able to appreciate all of that, and obviously appreciate what's happening now with boards. But yeah, it was cool. I felt like for me, it was a rad year or two of just like enjoying that kind of surfboard. So it was cool.
Yeah, it's the twin fin thing interests me so much because I think for surfers of a certain generation, when we grew up, it was like reserved to kind of crappy days or smaller waves. And I think over the last like 20, 25 years, you've seen things like Lost 5.5 by 19 and a quarter, or even before that, like Tom Curran surfing the Liz fish, his sessions out at Sumbawa. I will die on this hill, but Dane Reynolds is criminally underrated MTFA from Channel Islands,
Yeah.
performing in France. And just the versatility of the twin fin in terms of it being a performance sport and it be having like a huge range of conditions it can perform in. It's changed so much over the year, and it feels like that's so apparent in this film. With Spearfish, because you ride all sorts of waves, backhand, forehand, small waves, big waves, and it just seems like a really versatile board.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like I don't know, twin fins have definitely evolved so much, but yeah, personally, it's just fun to be able to, I guess also just to have the time to be able to put into riding alternative boards
Right.
or whatever you want to call it, I guess. But
Sure.
because I feel like a lot of people, kind of, I don't know, especially like more performance surfers, they'll ride like normal boards and then they'll get like one twin fin or one fish or something, and they kind of use that as like, okay, that's how the rest of fishes go. That's how it goes. But I think since like getting off tour and stuff and stop competing, it's been a really nice opportunity to be able to put time into riding boards. I mean, you look at like people on tour, they every single day they riding boards and
Mm,
making minor tweaks, and it just doesn't stop. It's just like continuous. Like,
right.
yes, you have your good boards and you keep them and store them for when you need it, but it's just like this ongoing like adjustments and minor tweaks. And I think, being able to have the opportunity to kind of do the same thing but with twin fins and stuff has made a big difference, because then, you can really like get in tune with them and be able to just tweak them to be able to go and kind of the ways that you want to or surf the way you want to. And I feel like there's so many benefits, and there's obviously so many guys who sort of see that, and
Hmm.
like the films and the guys you're talking about now, like that stuff sticks in everyone's minds. Like it's just great surfing, different lines, and
Different lines, yeah.
yeah, and even like I don't know guys like Josh Kerr and stuff, seeing the way he
Totally,
surfs
yeah.
now, like. I remember we surfed that speciality event in J Bay recently, and
Right.
I remember we had to like, I think it was like one heat thruster, one heat twin fin, and I remember both of us like being pretty bummed that we had to wax up our thruster when we were going out for heat.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh man, like I'm just gonna go slower, like I'm not gonna have the same like speed and everything." And I was like, "Oh, I feel exactly the same." But I mean, it's still fun because you get to draw different lines, but it's just this, I don't know, once you kind of like put some time into it, you get to really just see the all the benefits that it has. And yeah, just being able to, yeah, I guess ride these different waves. I don't know. I feel like performance boards, it requires a lot more like, precision, or like you have to be in the perfect place at the right time. And that's it. You can really appreciate it when you see someone surfing well,
Mhm.
on a thruster and stuff. But I think, for some people, it's like, oh, if you want more freedom or whatever, it's really nice to have. And that's something I really enjoy. And especially being able to surf it in a bunch of different ways, and having a little bit more speed, and, having a board where like, I don't know, if you in the barrel or something, you can just make like a minor, minor little like drive or something, but then at the speed it gets is like, pretty amazing in that sense. And I don't know, it's just fun.
Well, you mentioned competition there, and I want to bring this up because although I think you stepped away from full time competition in 2019, you still turn up here and there. And this year we got to see you surf in the Four Seasons Maldives Surfing Championships, and you actually took out the thruster division, and that's another cool event where that the invitees they surf single fins, twin fins, thrusters, and I think when people look at the field, they're like, all right, well, like Mikey February is going to dominate these particular divisions. But they had, CT icon Taj Burrow, and you actually beat him in the thruster division. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, geez, yeah, I feel like I've been on like a bit of a free surf contest tour this year. I
Right,
don't know. There's
right.
been like I don't know, since like the Pipe Masters at the end of last year. There's been a couple, and it's been fun, like different formats, and it's been exciting. But yeah, that Maldives one was like the last one, and that was really special. I mean, just a rad event that they put on. But yeah, and also just like it's cool to be, I don't know, around these new formats where they're encouraging people to ride different boards, and even for people like myself who ride other boards mostly, kind of still, get pushed to ride something like a thruster, in that sort of like competitive environment. Like I don't know. It's cool because I don't know. I feel like there's something about surfing contests that makes you surf differently. I mean, this contest, I think it was like single fin thruster and twin fin, and even on the first day, like I don't know, riding the single fin, you had Jadson on like his normal shortboard, but it just had a single
Just
fin
one fin,
box in
right?
it.
Yeah, right.
And then you had like I was riding like a mid twin. I was like, I had a bunch of CI made me a bunch of shorter ones, and I was like, oh, I don't, I'll save something shorter for like twin fins or thrusters. Like I want to just surf a single fin, like a single fin. But then you get in the water and you're in like a rash vest, and you got a contest going on, and I don't know, all of a sudden that board that's like 6'6" or something feels just way too long because you're just trying to like,
Right, right.
I don't know, be like in that contest mindset where you're just trying to like, fit things in nice, and but it's cool because it brings out like, I don't know, you kind of get pushed to and you could see that with all the other guys and the boards they were riding, and it was so rad to see someone like, I don't know, Jadson ride a single fin and do like surf the way he was surfing, and also just see his like the feeling that he was getting, like he was like genuinely like really excited about it. And I used to kind of like be like kind of not hate on the like people trying to like, I remember like Italo at like some Corona highline thing in Bali, and he was riding a single fin doing like he's doing like shove its and stuff like
Right,
that, and I
just
was like,
surfing like he would normally
yeah,
surf, right? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of like weird. But I think seeing someone like Jadson and seeing, I don't know, just seeing people enjoy it, I guess everyone's got, to me, that's really what, like, I guess your style is about is, kind of surfing the way that makes you happy. And, um, it's cool to as long as you're appreciating it, and that's what like people like Jadson and Isolo were doing, I guess, is they surfing it the way that resonates with them mostly, and that's probably the most it's the coolest thing to see because you can actually see the joy and the like enjoyment of drawing different lines and writing something different, but the way that they want to. Um, and then yeah, like I don't know, going back to that event, like for myself, writing like doing the thruster division, I was super nervous and I was like not nervous, but I was like, I'm surfing against like guys like Jadson, Jeremy, Carissa, like Taj, and kind of like yeah, a little bit like I don't know, just wondering. I haven't don't ride thrusters all that much, so kind of get a little bit nervous. But and it was cool because it was nice because you had one day where someone was like, "Hey, you're gonna ride a thruster today." The waves are pumping, like, and you get pushed to kind of do that, and I mean, it's such a nice way to do that, and it was really fun because you got to be against these guys, you got to watch them and surf against them, and just enjoy something fun like a thruster, which was really fun, and yeah, it was just cool to see. Obviously seeing. I feel like everyone who was in the event won divisions that didn't seem like the divisions that they would win,
Right.
which was just hilarious. Like, Jadson winning the single fin,
Right.
Jeremy
Yeah.
winning the twin fin, myself winning the thruster, and obviously Taj, he made like all three finals, so he was going to win eventually. That was for sure. He won the whole thing in the end, but yeah, it was cool. It was really fun to see, and just yeah, just cool to see everyone riding different boards, and just also seeing how riding those different boards kind of helps you ride the other board, I guess. Like, riding a single fin where you don't really have as much like hold or whatever, and you kind of have to really like nurse it a little bit and
Mm.
draw, longer lines. And then the next day, like riding a thruster, you have like so much more confidence. And then you get to like see it in a different light, which is cool. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Surfing, it's always had kind of a historically like uneasy relationship with the mainstream, right? It's a pretty protective like subculture in a lot of ways, and for uninitiated fans or readers or viewers, it's sometimes really impenetrable. And occasionally you'll see it, like a world champion or a gold medalist or a Guinness World Record. It's pretty easy to see them like on CNN or Sports Illustrated or whatever. But, you were featured in this really insightful and kind of beautiful New York Times piece earlier in the year. And I'm curious, how that came about. Like they approached you and what was the angle that, the gray lady, the New York Times was taking when they talked to someone like Mikey February.
Yeah, yeah, that was so yeah, that project kind of it came about when it was actually the director, Sandra Winter. She I mean originally it wasn't like I guess the New York Times picked it up later, but she was spending time in South Africa and she loves surfing. She's a great writer and director, and she was busy filming something else, and while she was there she kind of maybe someone told her about me and my family and that, and I guess she was like pretty intrigued, and she kind of got to like know our story a little bit, and within like a couple of days we met with for coffee, and she was there on like a completely other like another shoot, and she was meant to go home and stuff, and we had coffee, and she was like, I don't know, she got to know our story and stuff, and then she was like, hey, like could we like maybe film something, and so she kind of stuck around, and within a week, we were forming this project where, yeah, she's an amazing writer where she can
Mm.
like, take a story and really like kind of immerse herself in it and kind of, just creatively try and put something together. Because we've done like, I guess more documentary or profile kind of pieces
Right.
before, and but just her sort of view and way she saw it was really unique. And I mean, even for my whole family, even the stuff that we filmed was, we were really vulnerable, and it was weird
Yeah.
because we only met her like a week or so ago. Um, but I think that's also like that happening was like maybe an evolution of like, you know, I've been probably I guess like more stopped competing like 5 or so years ago, and got to kind of do all these other creative projects, and I think that's and all those creative projects have kind of been focused on surfing, but also other things like, cultural, like culture, communities, music, and trying to like draw parallels between I guess other things that can relate to surfing. And then yeah, this project was yeah, I feel like it was not an evolution of that, but like it happened at a time where, done a few projects and trying to, and I think maybe yeah, I think it was just really cool, I guess, like her seeing spending time with the family and being able to tell that story. And yeah, it was completely different to anything that I've done before, but um along the way, getting to know Sandra and see what she thought, and her getting to know us better, was it was really cool. And yeah, just enjoyed a different perspective on I guess yeah, on it all. And yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, it's just yeah, really stoked with the way she put it all together. And it was really cool that the New York Times picked it up. It's been amazing to get like, just so many people with amazing responses to that story and stuff, which has been really cool. And yeah.
Well, the piece is called How the Ocean is Liberating for one of South Africa's best surfers. It's in the New York Times. Recommend everyone check it out. That's a good stopping point for this first segment. We're going to take a break to get a word in from our sponsors. And when we pick it back up, we're going to dive back into where Mikey February came from. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the lineup. I am Dave Prodan here with South Africa's Mikey February. And Mikey, we were talking about that New York Times article, and it was very family focused. And you mentioned, you have your beautiful wife and son, and you got another babe on the way. What has dad life been like for you? Because it's you hear it so often from professional surfers. It's like it's such a admittedly selfish pursuit, and especially when you're younger, a lot of times you're kind of put in this bubble and you're platformed, and people are taking care of kind of all the responsibility stuff for you in a lot of ways. But then when you become a husband or a partner or a wife, and a father, it really changes perspective for people. I'm wondering what that transition's been like for you over the last few years.
Yeah, oh, it's been definitely the biggest change in my life for sure. Especially I guess at the time where like, I don't know, not competing and
Mm.
even trying to do something new, like, free surfing and doing all these other projects. It's still I feel like I just started doing that stuff. So that's also like been a huge learning curve. But, obviously yeah, being married and then having our little one and stuff has been really awesome. It's been obviously like anything, it's it has its challenges, but it's yeah, it's probably the most beautiful thing that you could go through. And yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, we're so fortunate, like, we spend a lot of time together, even with traveling and stuff. Like I try not to go away for like, I don't know, more than 2 weeks at a time. And then if that's not, I mean, with that, then they'll obviously come travel with me. And it's been really cool because I feel like, I don't know, all those places you used to go to before where you didn't have much going on and it was just kind of surfing and not much else, was kind of like, if you go to like Hawaii or whatever. And I mean, Hawaii is different, but other places, like, you don't tend to stay there for too long. But
Mm.
with the little one, you realize like jet lag, all that kind of stuff. You're like, let's rather just post up at a place.
Right.
And I mean, even that alone, like when you have a little one, like you're busy, so those places where there's just like you can just, I guess it's just surfing and not much else going on. You can just spend time with the family and kind of just live like a bit of a more simple life. And I really, really enjoy that because we've done a lot of different trips, like whether it's like Hawaii for like a couple months or
Mm.
go to Puerto Rico or something, like having the family there, like I'm really fortunate because like my wife really supports me in that sense. And, obviously she's had to compromise a lot, but we've been fortunate enough to be able to look at the positives and be able to live the life that we do and share all these amazing travels and places and friends and family around the world with our little one, which is really special. So it's been like, yeah, it's like it's completely new, but it's like we get to, you kind of appreciate everything a lot more. And we're very, I don't know, just being able to live that sort of lifestyle has been pretty awesome. It's very different to other how other people live, but it's really special. And then yeah, I think another thing that it teaches you is like to kind of like maybe quantity over quality and
Mm.
really decide how you spend your time. And I think that's especially now going, we have another one coming next month, so it's like I'm sure that's going to be even more focused, which is good. And it's exciting, like I don't know, all the change and stuff, and also just being responsible for a little human that's like growing and seeing that change is really amazing. You see reflections of yourself and just all those things, and it's special to see because it makes you try and be a better person, better dad, better wife, husband, and that. So yeah, it's really good. I don't know, I'm very blessed with the little family that I have. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And even though you have this amazing lifestyle where you get to travel and base in these different locations, you still have a home base in Cape Town. And that is where you were born and raised, I believe, too. So, for listeners that have never been there, how would you describe, Cape Town to someone who's never been there? And then what was it like for you growing up there? What was it like with mom and dad? Did you have siblings? Like what was growing up in Cape Town like for you?
Yeah, I grew up in kind of like the heart of Cape Town near the city when I was younger. We grew up in a place called Woodstock, kind of near close to the city, near the harbor. My parents were both pretty creative people, and they worked for my dad started his own design studio, and they also worked for this advertising agency, Saatchi and Saatchi. And I have a younger brother, Luke, and an older brother, Josh. And yeah, I don't know, I grew up spending a lot of time around a lot of creative people.
Mm.
When I don't know, every day after school, I'd get either picked up by someone else or my parents, and I'd go straight to the office and just be around all these different people in the agency who are, I guess, thought differently. They were like fun and creative, and it was just really cool energy to be around and just kind of cool examples, I guess, growing up.
Mm.
And obviously, my mom and dad too, they were very like that's, the rad like sort of people that I had to look up to. And yeah, I mean, I guess long story short too, like my dad, like he grew up at a different time than I did, and he made the one of my favorite decisions of his was to become a surfer in a place or community where no one else was really, or people like him weren't surfers. So or just like a really specific small group of people, and that decision kind of directly affected my life in the best way possible. So yeah, I think him making that decision was a big thing for me because growing up, I obviously saw him surfing, and that was, just like any kid, when you see your dad do something like that's who you look up to. You like anything he does is not, it's just normal. Like it's not normal, but it's like you like it's not a wild decision. Like he did it. Like
Right.
I kind of so I think immediately I was like, it wasn't even like he maybe was more conscious of his decision at the time because he felt like which would have been a lot to try and do something like surfing. But for me it was just like, oh, my dad's doing it, I'm gonna do it kind of thing.
Right.
So really thankful for that decision because we get to be where I am now. And but yeah, so yeah, and obviously, it was really cool because he really supported me growing up with surfing and stuff. And yeah, Cape Town's a beautiful place. I mean, I carried on surfing for I started surfing, and then by the time I was like really into it, we moved to a small beach town, maybe 45 minutes from the city called Komiki. And that's where a lot of the better surfers in South Africa or Cape Town are. And that's like where Damien Vanford from, Brennan Gibbons, Matthew Bromley, a bunch of those guys. So that's kind of when I met those guys. And yeah, I kind of like grew up surfing around those guys, my older brother as well. Um, and yeah, that was where I really fell in love with surfing. And it's yeah, it's funny. When I was older, we moved out. We moved to the city. I mean, obviously moved out my parents' house, moved to the city, Then we moved halfway between the city and where I grew up, and now we starting to build a house in the city, like maybe 3 houses from where I grew up. So it's kind of been full circle, and kind of gonna give yeah, I get to give our little ones like kind of the same experience growing up because it was really awesome. And yeah, my even my parents like moving there was like, it was purely because I was into surfing. And they were like, we'll move over there because you spend every other weekend with your friends there. So we might as well move over this. And that's like a good example of their support, I guess.
Right.
Good reflection. Because that's just one of many, many examples of them being like, this is what he loves and this is what he's passionate about. Let's support that. And yeah, it's been nonstop and since then. And it's yeah, Cape Town's beautiful. It's a really cool place. It's a lot of different people. It's very diverse, and I really it's really cool to be able to grow up in a place like that. And yeah, it's home.
It's one of those places that is almost mythical, like South Africa, if you're not from there, because of the waves, because of the iconic surfers that the country's produced. And you mentioned a number of like elite level surfers that came out of that community. But with regards to your own development, were there certain points where you realized like, oh, I might be pretty good at this. I might be good enough to make it my career, or was it something that was more gradual for you?
Um, no, I think like I don't know. Ever since I started doing surfing, and just fell into that community of like having close friends who I'd spend every day with, and they were surfing, and you just constantly wanted to like push each other. And then we eventually started competing. And South Africa is a very small pool of surfers, so it's very different to, places like America or Australia where you're surfing against like many people. Um, but since like starting to compete, we from like, you know, under 10 or whatever, like we'd, make finals of contests and sometimes win them or whatever. And it kind of just, from when I was 10 to when I was 16, it was like almost the same, four people in the final of most events. But it changed and there was some other kids who came up um, but it was like this, I don't know, maybe select group of like 8 surfers that would be, kind of doing really well. And obviously you had the older generation like Geordie and stuff that you'd watch and just be amazed. But yeah, I think since I started competing, like did relatively well in contests and started winning events. And obviously in South Africa, like free surfing wasn't much of a big thing too. So
Right.
you realize that the only way to be able to do this for a living or be able to just like, surf every day of your life would be to compete. And obviously, which I think has changed, which is a good thing. But for me, that was kind of, I am naturally competitive at times, but I think that was a big reason for me to be compete and stuff and trying to reach that goal. Obviously, everyone's goal is to be on the world tour. So from a young
Sure.
age, I think that's what, all of us were saying and all of us wanted to do. So yeah, just like, that was the goal was just to compete. And obviously, the natural steps, like you go to Australia, you do some Grom Search events and stuff and get to see what that's like. And then eventually get to do like ISA events and stuff and do that. And then, yeah, you get to eventually do Pro Juniors and then the QS, which is, yeah, that's that's a whole nother, yeah, um, part of your career, I guess. But yeah, initially that was kind of the main goal for me, and obviously looking up to all those other surfers. And I didn't really have much of the only part of like free surfing that I like kind of saw when I was younger was just all the like sort of surf edits that would come out of like I don't know whether it was um like mix fanning the fire and like sabotage and montage and all those like in campaign and those kind of forms. So yeah, I really looked up to those guys like I don't know, Mick, Joel, Parker, even Dave Rustovich and stuff like so and those are the kind of people that I saw when I was growing up. Like spent a lot of time with my dad going to like the skate surf shop down the road watching surf movies and looking at all the magazines. and yeah, obviously when I started traveling, that kind of world opened up and could see how many good surfers there were on the in the world, and um, yeah, it was yeah.
There's with professional surfing, there's the performance side of it, whether it's heat results or free surfing edits. But then there's also the PR, marketing, branding part of it. And I vividly remember during your ascent, on the ASP WSL side, hovering around, PR and marketing and branding conversations, and like this very excitable, in a way, kind of conversation around like, well, Mikey February, this is amazing for diversity. He's the first Black South African on tour, et cetera, et cetera. And all of which is true. But then there's also the piece where it's like, well, like legitimately performance wise, like that's another part of this focus. For a young guy coming up, like, were you aware of this kind of like community conversation around what it meant for you to kind of maybe break some barriers that existed in our culture prior to that? And at the same time, having to perform at an elite level, it feels like it would be a lot for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of maybe was more aware of it from a very young age. Maybe
Right.
not as like an overall sense, but you know, I don't know, even like growing up in South Africa, that's, very like, you're aware of all that kind of stuff. And I think, but naturally, like, when I started surfing, a lot of the times, like, you're maybe one of the only or a few surfers of color or whatever.
Mm,
And that's not an issue at all because I feel like with my upbringing and the way my parents raised me, it wasn't that
mm,
weird. It was like, it
right.
was good to be different. And I didn't really mind that and phase me. I didn't understand the sort of cultural change sort
Mm,
of side of it. But even with competing, like all the ISA events, when wherever we used to do South African trials, like it was, I think it was like maybe the top four made it, and then sometimes with like the quota system in South Africa, say someone of color came fifth and someone of not came fourth, then the person who came fifth would get into the team. And I guess my goal was to never come fifth. It was always to like, make it on merit. And that was kind of a lot of my parents like sort of influence, I guess. And they were
mm,
just like, make it on merit. And so even though there was all that, and then since then there's been many things like that. But I think even though there's like all this other not noise or whatever, or you hear things about like surf of color or whatever, like from a young age I've kind of used to hearing that, but not like not focusing on that. um but only, and I think it was just like competing, like it's a lot, like doing contests and all of that is it's a lot, and then having that as like a you know I just kind of block all that kind of stuff out and be like, I just focus on performance, I guess, and trying to grow as a surfer and be an individual as an individual, not like based off anything else. And but then I think after being on tour, like obviously when you finally made the tour, it was like a huge relief. Obviously doing the Cures for many years, I find like I that's probably when I heard it the most.
right.
And I was like a lot, and I was like, it was really cool because there's I had a lot of making the tour to like, getting a lot of exposure and gaining a lot. But yeah, I think it was only after that when that sort of um noise was kind of gone that I could actually, and growing up, I guess, like just
Sure.
learning things in life and stuff and actually understanding the meaning of where everyone's come from and where they are now and how change has happened and stuff. And so yeah, later when there was less pressure, I feel like I could really have the time and the space to kind of understand what all of that meant. And today I feel like I appreciate that change that's happened culturally and stuff, and especially during like my time, seeing how much like since I started surfing till now, things have changed, and all the amazing, surfers and how the whole like, color of the water is changing and the lineup and stuff has been really cool. So yeah, I feel like only, it's so hard to focus on so many different things, but now I feel like I have a huge appreciation and maybe feel a touch more like responsible to do more, and just also just like really happy and stoked on how that positive change has been happening, and it's just really cool to be like a small part of it. And yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Hey.
You talked about the build up to qualifying for the show, for qualifying for the championship tour, and that happened for you in 2018. And it was a little bit of an interesting road, right? Because I think, if I remember correctly, you were a replacement surfer for a couple of events, and then Mick Fanning retired, and you took his spot full time. And one of the things about the CT is like there are excellent elite level surfers that come through, and it just doesn't quite work out. And sometimes, like, I always think of the Sean Cansdell rule, where the year that Sean Cansdell fell off tour, he was falling off tour with like 16, 17 points every heat. And it was both on the CT and on the QS. It was just like, that's the way surfing goes sometimes. For you, achieving that goal of qualifying for the championship tour, and then having to evolve into a different part of your professional surfing career, what was that time like for you, and how did you kind of settle into the free surfing space? Because I always think of the Wayne Rabbit Bartholomew comment about Brendan Margison is often credited with like the first professional free surfer career, and he says it looks like a lot of fun, but you have to be so good to make it work. And obviously you've made it work. But I'm curious about that time in your life, and figuring out that the CT wasn't going to work out for you, but that there was this other avenue.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's yeah, I guess like yeah, that I mean, I was competing pretty heavily, and I think that was like a huge just focus. I mean, the QS, I was on the QS for like, I don't know, maybe like 7, 8 years or something like that. And that's a whole nother world, you know? And just like, I don't know, that was the focus because, even then there was support, which I was really grateful for, but it wasn't like, I don't know, being a surfer in South Africa, there's not much like, there's not many resources, and you're really grateful if you're among the few that get supported by brands and stuff in South Africa, because that makes a big difference. But it was just like, yeah, I guess like doing the QS for that many years and not really having, the time or resources to like, I don't know, there were other pe people who would do like the QS, but then they'll go on free surf trips. I'd, go to Indo or go wherever. Like I'd never been anywhere other than like pretty much where these events were, and just trying to get to the next event, I guess. And yeah, I mean, finally, it was a slow climb for me. Like it was just like every year it was like, I don't know, you're like 140th, then you're like, I don't know, 110th, then you're like
Right.
90th, and then you're like, and it just kept on like, and it was hard to justify, but I think that like climb helped it a lot, I guess, just being like to justify, okay, it's only going up, it's slow, but it's going up, like I just keep doing it. And eventually, yeah, that last year, I think it came down to the last event, and I think someone I just didn't make it, I guess, and it ended up being, yeah, I was the last person, and then I remember like pipe happening, and afterwards they were like, you'll get the injury replacement thing, and I was pretty bummed or whatever, and then like a friend of mine had been having like a barbecue at Mick's place or whatever, and he was like, hey, like I spoke to Mick, like he's retiring next year at Bowls. And then they were like, and then, I kind of got my hopes up a little bit. And then, yeah, eventually that's the way I got on tour, which was a bit different. But it was, I just personally, it was just a great thing to be able to tick off and be like, I did that. And I think I needed that just in life in general, just to be
Right.
able to take that next step, because it's hard, man. Like if you do the course for that long, like I have friends who, like, I don't know, people like, yeah, Maxime or Ramsey that I was similar age, and they only made it a couple of years later, and they were like, just insane surfers, like the best surfers for a long time, and still are. So there's just so many good surfers out there, and it's really it's a hard one, but it's amazing when it all lines up and you can actually, but yeah, and then I mean I was fortunate enough, like halfway through being on tour, like I don't know if it was like half like this just like overwhelming great feeling of like you could breathe. You're like, I made it finally. Like wasn't all for no reason. But then also just like, for the first time getting to surf good waves, like that was a whole nother thing too. I was like, finally all of a sudden like boards were changing everything. And I feel like I'm only now getting kind of used to surfing good waves on good boards and stuff,
Right.
it's taken some time, but yeah, that year I think it was like halfway through the year I got to do my first like sort of creative free surf project, and we went to Ghana to film for a project called New Rhythmo. And that was the first time I had like some say in like the creative direction of a piece, and then also being able to go and write some different boards in a place. And I guess just that, and also not just based on surfing, but also music and culture.
Yeah.
It was like just such an eye-opening experience. I'd been pretty stressed on tour, enjoying it, but pretty stressed. It's pretty intense. And I felt like all of a sudden like so free to just like ride different boards, no stress, just like being immersed in a new culture and being able to like surf amazing waves, mostly by myself when I was there. But um for me that was like, I don't know, if I looked at the whole year and just like analyzing how everything felt, that was when I felt like my happiest and most like energized, like, being creative and enjoying this. And that was probably what kind of really was a turning point in realizing that maybe, I mean, yes, I also don't feel like I'm the most like professional in the athlete sense, like, I tried it like to be, kind of at the gym and working out and all this stuff, but I don't know, it's for me, it's like I feel like I don't know. I struggled with that, and I think, and I really can admire people for being that dedicated because it's just every day and it's gnarly. But yeah, to be able to, I think that's when I realized that I could, there's something else that I could do, and that was when, yeah, it took me a while though because that next year I did the QS, but it was kind of like doing it because I was like, I don't know, and then that end of that year, I ended up saying, I'm kind of done, and that was a big decision to make, but yeah, it was good. And yeah, since then just been, yeah, been given a lot of that. I think the end of that year on tour, I joined the Vans team, and which was really cool because that was like kind of perfect segue into like the new sort of like time in my career, I guess, and I could start being more creative. And it was, they really supported that. And the first few trips I did was pretty epic. I think the first one we went to like the Zambezi River and surf that river wave. And then the next trip was like Indo with like Almost and Harry. And it just like immediately was like, this is epic. Like, I'm doing all these amazing fun trips and I feel like more open and free to like have fun, and obviously started working on boards and all that kind of stuff. So it was, yeah, but it's hard. It like, sorry, I feel like I'm speaking for ages, but like you said, it is tricky, especially when you're just used to having like, clear results, like doing a contest and knowing this is how you did, but just ways to sort of measure that success. But um yeah, the free surfing, like it's a whole nother thing. Like even just, doing trips and planning or making the decision to do trips and trying to do your best surfing where you don't have to like get a score, you're just trying to get like good quality, I don't know, surfing. And it was a lot of change, but yeah, I feel like I'm only just kind of slowly figuring it out.
It's an interesting insight where you talk about like the pathway for you, like becoming like deciding that you want to become a free surfer was actually qualifying for the CT. It's like you're climbing up a mountain, you summit, and then you actually have this broader perspective of like, okay, I achieved that goal, and now it's opened up these opportunities for me not only to compete against the world's best, but also to like explore these other projects that I discover I have a really interesting passion for. But I'm glad you brought up how like not easy it is to be a free surfer as well, because I think that's something that a lot of us think. We see like those are perfect waves and they're not in a jersey and they're riding the boards they want and this looks so much fun, like how cruisy is that? But you hear it so often from the few surfers that make that transition is they go like, yeah, competing's tough, but at least there's kind of like a schedule and like a routine where it's like, all right, I'm home and we're going to Brazil, so I'm going to go find some beach breaks to practice on. Or like in a month, we're going to J Bay, I'm going to find a point break to practice on. And when you're a free surfer, it's like the world is your oyster, and there's like it's almost paralysis by opportunity because you're like, all right, I got to figure out how to do this.
For sure, definitely. I mean, even like, I don't know, even with the family, like the amount of times I said to my wife that there's a really good swell coming, like, and then I go on a trip and then I'm there and I'm like, oh, it wasn't as good as it was meant to be. Like, and she's like, and then every time you're like, hey, babe, I think there's a good swell coming or wherever. Like, I think I might go. She's like, oh, I've heard that before, but she's supports me. But it's just funny because now she's like understands, that part of it too. Like, it's not easy. It's like, just deciding on where to go and pulling the triggers hard. Obviously, nowadays with like, forecasting and stuff, it's a bit easier. But with that, there's a lot more people surfing too, so it's hard. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one, just trying to figure out and see where's good and trying to have a balance of like different waves and being like understanding what's good for certain projects and stuff. And especially, I don't know, like riding different boards too is kind of tricky because it's like, you don't have like one board bag full of like, I don't know, there's positives and negatives. You don't have one board bag that's just full of like, three, four thrusters and then a couple step ups, that are just like all similar. It's like you have like a twin fin, like maybe two different, like a fish. You have like two thrusters, and then you have like a step up. You have a bonza, and you just often I'll find I go on a trip, and then like one of the boards will work in that wave, and then maybe it'll snap or something. But I don't know. There's a lot of things that go with it, and um, yeah, I think it's fun. I think that's why it's been really good to kind of focus on a lot of the other parts of it, like music and culture, because when you go on a trip, it's not like you're always just chasing waves, which helps a lot. And kind of like you don't feel like if you're just going there to score waves and you don't get waves, then like feels like not a waste of time, but unproductive.
Hmm.
So putting more focus and energy into the other parts of it has helped a lot because it makes it a bit more intentional and easy to get stuff done. And also just like it's I don't know, I find that's like the best part of it, of all the trips that you do, is like the music and the people that you meet, and just like the sum of all those parts really makes that experience special. So I really enjoy that way of kind of like going to these places and working on things has helped a lot. Yeah.
I love that insight because it's come up a few times over the years on the podcast. But, for a kid like myself coming from suburbia, like surfing was like undeniably really, really fun. But it was also kind of like a portal to like other worlds and cultures and peoples and lifestyles. So it was very like perspective enhancing. And something that's come up on the podcast over the years is like there was a period of time, and I think that's changing now mercifully, but like there's a period of time, 15-ish years ago, where surfing got really insular and self-referential, where it was like, all right, the content I want to consume is like, how is this fin going to give me better rotation on this air reverse in this onshore beach break kind of thing? And that was it, and it's like surfing actually has this opportunity to expose people to so many different things. And you mentioned culture and you mentioned music, and music's been such a big part of your film projects. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that? And is that something that you've gotten interested in through working on these surf projects, or has music always kind of been a big part of your life?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, music's always been a big part of my life. I think it's pretty important to everyone. But yeah, I think for me, it's probably the one thing that I can relate to the most, I guess. Besides surfing, I feel like it's one thing that I don't know, I guess that's like what surfing is sometimes, you kind of like get this cool canvas and you get to draw these lines and kind of fit into I don't know, rhythm of the wave and stuff. And sounds cheesy, but that's for me, it's like, I don't know, I can, when you watch a musician play music or whatever, like seeing them being like immersed in what they're doing and stuff, like, I mean, it can be for a lot of different practices and things, but for me, it's something that I really relate to a lot, and it's really fun to sort of, I find like there's a lot of good parallels and stuff and
Hmm.
similarities, but it's just, it's just fun. And I think I don't know, it definitely like influences me and affects me in many ways, and I'm sure it does for everyone. Like, I don't know, like since the first trip that I did where we kind of focused on music, it was like, the whole goal was to be inclusive and have music from that place. And yeah, I don't know, even me, like, my like maybe simple mind of not having like been to a certain place. Like, you have this expectation of what music sounds like just because of what you've like received from the internet or whatever from that general area. So you have this like preconceived idea of like what music you think you're gonna get, and you know what waves you're gonna get. So like, hey, you're just picturing surfing to this kind of music. But then on the first trip I did, you go there, and then the music that you'll meet up with like a local musician, or you'll end up using something from that place, but it ends up being completely different. And I think at first I was like maybe not a little bit bummed, but I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. But then, the piece or whatever will come out and you're like, and then just because you were there when, and you made this connection with the people from then, and they play this type of music, like that connection kind of grows, and you're like, you can't really imagine it any way different. And that's like a cool sort of realization, I guess, is like, um, and a cool part of it is like you just don't know what you're going to expect, and being able to, kind of go there and get it directly from the source is really pure, and it seems fitting, like
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I think music is, especially in surfing, like I mean, soundtracks and stuff for everything, and there's been some pretty epic ones, and um, yeah, I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand, really, and there's such a variety too. Um, but yeah, even with what you're saying, I think, free surfing and surf forms have definitely changed a lot. I think, surfing before was like, not before, but maybe, 15 years ago, like a lot of mainly just surfers watch surf videos and stuff, and didn't, I feel like that feeling wasn't as accessible to everyone else. And now it's been explored on a much wider range of, um, to relate to different people, I guess. And whether it's like people who are just surfing for leisure and enjoying a feeling, or, you know, riding different boards, or I feel like, or if it's just like, just like more of a therapeutic thing, I feel like surfing is, it's cool because it's been identified as many different things, or just highlighted as many different, in different ways now, and that's really special because it is more than that. And I remember growing up, it was mostly just Groms watching surf videos,
Yeah.
and now it's like, you have everyone, like from like 12 to like, I don't know, 70, like people watching surf films and getting stoked. And it's the cool thing now because everyone's, it's getting shared in different ways, and people are enjoying it in different ways. And that's a beautiful part about surfing. So yeah, yeah, I feel like music's a big part of it because it's, connects with people in different ways. So yeah.
Totally, and it's so visceral for people that watch these films and videos. I got a ongoing playlist on Spotify just called Surf, where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that song from, Lost on the Road, or like Searching for Tom, and just add it constantly. And so
Yeah.
it immediately psychs you up, where you're like, oh, I remember that segment, I'm ready to go, and
Yeah.
that's really cool. Like one of the things about surfing is it takes place in the ocean, which you could argue is the most alien environment on the planet for human beings. And not only does it take place in this alien environment, it takes place arguably at the most violent part of this alien environment, where the ocean meets the sea. And elite level surfers like yourself not only have to survive this, but thrive. And as such, often you end up with these amazing stories, and sometimes scary stories. And we're going to ask you about a couple of those in this new segment presented by Kraken Rum called Scary Stories of the Sea. Step into the dark this Halloween with Kraken Rum and experience the unexpected with the new Kraken Gold Spiced Rum. The Kraken Rum pairs perfectly with mischief, curses, and scary stories of the seven seas. Delve into Halloween cocktail recipes at krakenrum.com. So, Mikey, as someone who is not only world traveled, but does come from a part of the ocean with a very active sea life in South Africa, what's been, one or two pretty harrowing stories you've had just from your time in the ocean?
Um, yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, obviously, growing up in South Africa and Cape Town, there's been, yeah, I think there was a lot more shark activity back then when I was kind of younger. And it just in places that I grew up, every now and again. I mean, there was like a few shark attacks and stuff, and there's a few like cases where just at the local break, it'd be like, I think I remember one when I was maybe like 16 or 14 or something, and we are just out there and at the local, and I think my mom was on the beach, my dad was with me in the water, and it was just like all the kind of local guys out at the peak, and it was like kind of just at sunset kind of time. I don't know, just a place that never not too much ever happens, but I think my mom said because she was standing like on the deck watching, and you can kind of have like a bit of a higher view of everything, but it's pretty much like this A-frame lowers type kind of wave, and on the side where the left breaks, there's kind of like it just goes into nothing, and I guess you just saw this big like I don't know submarine of like a great white coming in like along the outside of the left, and then kind of there was no set or anything, and it just kind of went straight through the lineup past all of us, like maybe like 1 or 2 meters away from me, like in between my dad and I, and just kind of cruised just like this sort of, I don't know, just real slow, massive submarine of a shark, just right through all of us. And it was kind of mellow, like it didn't feel too dangerous or anything. And we all just ended up paddling in. Obviously, my mom was just freaking out on the beach, but we all got out and it seemed pretty peaceful. And then next thing, this thing just like ended up breaching a seal like 20 minutes after we all got out, which was pretty crazy to see. But yeah, I don't know. We haven't had too many crazy, luckily lately we've had like nature kind of do its thing, and we've had the orcas come in and kind of all sent them up the East Coast to like
Right.
kind of like just before J-Bay kind of thing. So that's been nice because a lot of these spots where we've had shark attacks and normal sightings of sharks, like we haven't had anything for years, and it's cool when nature kind of does its thing and it happens naturally. Um, but yeah, I mean, scary stories. I
That's
don't know,
pretty
this
scary.
is,
I mean, that's pretty scary, like in
yeah,
hindsight. But it's fun. I mean, it's interesting because you go like you meet lifelong surfers who've surfed all around the world, and they're like never seen one ever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I've seen a couple in my time, and especially once in South Africa, and I was freaked, and no one moved. Everyone was just
yeah,
calm, and one of the locals next to me was like, "Oh, yeah, no. If you can see him, you don't have to worry about him. It's the
for
ones you
sure.
can't see that you got to." And I'm like, "Well, that doesn't make me feel much better because I can't see him all the time, kind of thing."
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure. If it's great whites, then yeah, I feel like if you can see them, that's good. I mean, don't, yeah, because I feel like they always just like attack from a distance or whatever. So it's not, yeah,
the
it's good.
orca thing's amazing too. Like there is
Oh, it's so
my
good.
I've got 10-year-old twins, boy and a girl, and they're like fascinated with them right now. So we're on like
Is
every
it?
story, every fact. They're the brains and like how smart they are, and particularly when it comes to sharks and stuff, it is unbelievable how intelligent they are.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we had like maybe I don't know how many years ago, we just had like every now and again a great white would just like get kind of beached or whatever, and it would just have like this perfect surgical like cut out of like its liver, I
They
guess.
pull the
I
liver
think it's
out.
the liver,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
it's just crazy how that, yeah, they just, yeah, they're kind of like aliens. It's kind of scary, but they're pretty, yeah, pretty amazing.
Well, thanks for that story, and thank you to Kraken Rum for sponsoring the segment. We're going to take one more quick break, take a word in from our sponsor, and when we come back, we will wrap up our conversation with Mikey February. All right, we're back. This is the lineup. I am Dave Proden here with Cape Town's Mikey February. And Mikey, we talked a little bit about what's been going on this year. We talked a little bit about your upbringing, but looking forward, you got another baby on the way. Congratulations to you and the family. What does the rest of 2024 look like, and what does 2025 look like? What kind of projects are you eyeing in the near future?
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I mean, we've a couple of months ago kind of launched this new platform called Spearhead, and that's kind of just been like a sort of personal, sort of creative outlet to have a bit more freedom and just try and experiment a little bit. We've got the YouTube channel, and that's been really fun just to I don't know, have a place to kind of put different things out and stuff and try and yeah, not be too precious about things and kind of just have a bit more creative freedom to have fun and try stuff and see what works and what doesn't. Um, and then yeah, like we just finished this Spearfish film, and that we're gonna finish touring soon, and that's gonna come out in a couple of weeks, which I'm excited about. And then yeah, I've got to like I don't know, a few fun projects that I've been working on kind of a little bit outside of uh just like surfing, I guess, that we've been working on, which I'm really excited about. And I think I'll be working on that a lot next year. And excited to share that with everyone when that comes out. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm kind of like, yeah, I got a week and a half left in California. I got another little one coming on the way in about at the end of next month. And I'm kind of just excited to kind of be at home and just kind of reset and just focus on the family and enjoy that side of things for a bit and kind of be refreshed and ready for next year to just, yeah, do some more fun things, do some surf trips. And I think one thing I realized this year, I definitely want to try venture off to some other new places again because I don't know. I mean, it's amazing that more people are into surfing, but I feel like I don't know. There's a lot of places that have been pretty busy, and like
Right.
when
Yeah.
kind of everyone knows when there's a good swell, and I think I've been inspired to kind of just like go back to kind of maybe exploring Africa more and a few other places, and just yeah, just explore a little bit more and yeah, just get some fun waves, ride some different boards and work on some fun stuff. 'Cause, yeah, I feel like next year will be a lot of exciting, fun things. But yeah, for now, just yeah, cruise with the family.
Very cool. Well, before you go, we put out a feeler for Instagram questions that at the lineup pod. We got a ton back for you, but we've whittled them down to three. And the first question is from at TimManX4, who says, a lot of people say a fish feels sticky on backside surfing. Does the spearfish ease that feel?
Yeah, the board's actually called it's called the Feb's fish. The name of the film Spearfish. But yeah, I think I had a I've had a lot of fun on the right left is really fun on a fish. I mean, I had a lot of fun back in I don't know, I think it was like 2018. I rode like an MR at the same place where we formed Spearfish, and that was like the first time I really enjoyed riding a wave on a fish on the backside. And then, yeah, more recently went up to like Uluwatu and just a bit above there and rode the Spearfish. And that one's got a little bit more rock in the nose, but just those like, and it's got a bit more hold, but also like a bit of freedom. So I don't know, having those nice, clean left walls and having that speed that you get out of a fish, but then being able to like just draw these real fun, swoopy sort of lines. Yeah, it's great. Like I mean, I haven't had fun sessions at like that beachy left at Canggu and stuff. It's yeah, I think having that extra little bit of rocker in the nose helps a lot because you're not like, when you lean, kind of coming out of stuff, you're not just like leaning forward and digging the nose or whatever. Like you got a bit more freedom to kind of pivot as well. So yeah, it's there's definitely it goes great in lefts.
It's a good answer. I can attest. I watched Spearfish this morning. There's a ton of backhand surfing in it. I thought it looked great.
Yeah,
Second
yeah, it's
question is
so
from Et K. Oh, sorry. The second question is from Et K. Beachy, who asks, "What is your dream event for a wild card?" I presume they mean the CT, and obviously you're a few years removed from it. But if you could get ported back into an event for one event as a wild card, which one would you want?
that'd be J-Bay for sure. Um, that's just a special place, and I mean not just because it's near home. It's that wave's insane, and um when you get I've been fortunate to have a few heats even now, speciality event where you just like two people in the lineup and it's like pumping. I had a heat with like Aki and Kersey this year, and that was insane. It was like I don't know, 4 to 6 feet, maybe even a bit bigger, but just us three in the lineup, and it was and just the I don't know, the boards that you get to ride there. A lot of different boards go well there, but it's just such a I think the one thing about Java is the speed that you feel. I think it's like you can I don't know, when you look at it, it looks like I don't know, any other point break, I guess sometimes, but that feeling that you get as a surfer out there is something that you can't really um explain until you feel it. So that, yeah, JV is definitely the one for sure.
And last question we picked is actually a friend of the pod, friend of Mikey February, is from at Lord Kelstro, who asks, ask him his top three albums of all time and his top three favorite surfers of all time. That's like six questions in one. And so maybe you just give
Damn,
us a
that's
couple
a
albums that you like and a couple surfers that you look up to.
yeah, that's hard. I mean, I think I remember the first time chatting to him about surfing, he was like, um, he, yeah, if I'm not correct, he's the best player at pre-nationals. And he was, yeah, he was saying that like his idea of surf music is like, um, who was it again? It was, I can't remember, but it was just a great, just something different, I guess. Like, I can't remember. I'll find it. Yeah, I don't know. My favorite albums, like I guess Miles Davis, kind of Blue. I really like that album. It's beautiful. Um, and then yeah, I'll have to think about the rest. But surfers, I'd say like Buttons has definitely been a huge influence. Just his sort of creativity and the way that he surfs and how much fun he's having and just his like approach to just looking at waves in a different way is really unique. And I'd say MR is also one that's like, yeah, MR has been a huge influence. Just, seeing the way he rides, even the bigger waves that he rides, like him on a single fin at sunset and stuff, and drawing the lines that he does is was crazy. Um, and then also say like Dave Rastovich, probably at the top of my mind right now because I've been watching a bit of his surfing and seeing how amazing he still surfs, and also being able to see, yeah, just like I got to meet him for the first time last week, so that was really special. And I think he described a lot of the things that I feel a lot with surfing that I've never really known how to like say or describe. So that was really cool, and I think I kind of connect with that on, obviously inspired by surfing, but um, yeah. Oh man, I don't know. I'm so bad with like music with like names and stuff. I kind of blank out and stuff, and I don't know. But yeah, I'm trying to think, but I'll have to.
That is
Yeah,
a comprehensive answer to a difficult question. That's pretty good. I back your
yeah,
answer. That's excellent. Well,
yeah.
thanks to everyone
Thanks.
who wrote in questions at the lineup pod. We're now down to our final segment. This is the lightning round. So 10 questions for you to answer as quickly as you can. If you could only have one board set up for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
Oh, twin fin.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Burrito or pizza?
Burrito. Uh, Burrito. You can have a breakfast burrito, so it's more versatile.
I land in the same exact reasoning on that. Last book you read?
Uh, I can't remember. My wife gave it to me. It was a great book. It was something pretty. I can't remember. Yeah. Mm.
Best surf film ever.
Um, damn, that's a hard one. Sorry, I'm not full of. Ah, damn. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I think I remember watching mixtape when I was younger with like my brother was like a huge fan of Bobby. So I feel like that's just pops into my mind. I feel like I watched that a lot. But there's a bunch of others. Yeah.
That's a good answer. You can couch it.
Yeah.
What is one wave you never have to go back to?
Um, oh, I don't want to make anyone bummed, but I don't know. Uh, damn. Um, that one wave where we had the QS in Portugal, Ginchu.
There you go. That's fair. That's fair. No one will be bummed. Like
Yeah.
that's fair. Everyone's got an
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah.
If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life, and you can dreamcast it, perfect conditions, just you and your friends, which wave would it be?
Um, Oh, probably. I mean, if that would be amazing, I'd probably surf Barra if I could get it good. And I don't know, that way is always fun. Yeah.
Good answer. Best person to share a lineup with.
Um, I'd say my dad. Yeah.
Worst person to share a lineup with.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Worst person. Hmm. I can't think of anyone.
That's fair. That's few people. Few
Yeah.
people call people out here. That's all right. Last
Yeah.
one. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by.
Going for a surf or
Good
getting
for
back to
you.
the family.
Good for you, man. Mikey February, thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on the lineup. Congratulations on all your success. Everyone should check out the new film Spearfish. It's incredible. And yeah, man, thank you for the conversation. This could have gone on for 10 hours, but we'll let you get back to it and look forward to catching up down the track.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That was, no, appreciate it.